What do you guys think about this topic from your perspective and your views on how this is now playing out on the international scale, the international stage of this conversation?
Well, I see two things. One is that it's this cynical kind of condescending treatment of the American people, that they just can't think for themselves. They can't handle the truth. And I actually think a lot of the world right now, organized religion is in decline. And to your point, Lou, this fact, this greater ontological truth, is marrying the religion of today, which is really science, with past religions, because we're looking at something that is observable in a modern context in the form of UAPs. This is studyable, but then it comports with all these religious texts and actually a more magical version of the universe that, is much easier. It's the way skeptics, the way Christopher Hitchens and Bill Maher, these sorts of Sam Harris, write off religion. So I think this kind of lame, low energy, early Cold War thinking that it would just be too destabilizing is just dumb at this point. And then there's the side of American national security, which is equally absurd. It's equally like, if in the world in which this is real, which I'm pretty bought into this being real, it's like you have this cargo cult of national security apparatus where the left hand can't talk to the right hand. Nobody has the proper scientific frameworks. And it's like I get deep into some of these things and I feel uncomfortable reporting on some of this stuff that I learned, because I'm like, is there anybody there? Like, I'm not trying to poke a hornet's nest gratuitously. I just want the whole thing to shift in a way that's more coordinated for our national security, because I'm very pro-America.
Right.
And so that frustrates me, because it's like there's no one to talk to. Like, who's in charge? Like, what's going on? There clearly have been efforts in the past, a la TTSA, to get this stuff out, in a safe way. And I actually empathize with some of these people who are involved in those efforts, because they're not the president of the United States, and they were tasked by three-letter agencies to do things that they didn't really want to do, years ago. But it's too little and too late or something. Like, we need to do it now, and we need to just kind of reorganize all this stuff. So it's like those two things, like personal meaning and the way everybody should comport themselves and live their lives and view religion and metaphysics. And then this other thing is this American national security thing, which is, it's a tragedy. Like, I don't understand what's going on there.
As someone who is guided by the phrase "seek discomfort" in my life, I think this is probably one of the greatest ways one can seek discomfort, to just reconsider these assumptions that we've made about reality and what this could all be.
There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.
I think we've reached the level of maturity that a part of the reason of the phenomenon is becoming a mainstream topic, and more people are becoming aware of it, is because I think we are getting there as in terms of our collective consciousness, and more people are waking up. And I think events like COVID have accelerated that by a whole lot. That now, trust in government is at an all-time low. Trust in mass media is at an all-time low. And I think people are just realizing that government lies all the time, and
why? Because government is made of people.
Yeah.
Government is made of people. People lie.
There's something that
people deceive.
There's something that came to my mind when you were asking that question. It was Terence McKenna talking about one time the mushrooms told him that what we're going through is right now is like the final step before we venture into the stars.
Yeah, breakthrough.
And it's like it's a fire in a madhouse, and just all this chaos is happening because we're on the precipice of just a massive paradigm shift. And that's what it intuitively and inside of me, it's even part of my interest in me pursuing this topic, is because I really feel like we're at the cusp of something really major happening. And a part of that is, your efforts and, throughout the past 2 decades, and, 2017 with just putting the videos on a platform that was, perceived as a trusted one as the New York Times, and that story coming out has definitely was the beginning of the shift that allows us to be sitting with you today to have this conversation.
I don't. I think you guys are the reasons why we're having this conversation, because it could have fell on deaf ears and nobody would care. My generation didn't care that much. Yours did. You're the reason why this topic is where it is today, not me. I may have, struck the match, but this bonfire, this wildfire, that's you guys. You guys are the wind. You guys have taken that little, look, fires are made all the time and they go nowhere. They're extinguished with the next rain, or they're extinguished because you don't have enough tinder, you don't have enough oxygen. This is a raging wildfire now, and it's not because of me. I can't take credit for that. It's because of what your generation has done with this, what you...
And if there's strength in numbers, then I think our numbers are pretty damn good. Like, I think there's way more good people that want good things to happen with disclosure, and with more people being aware that the reality is so much greater than we ever thought. And also the dissemination of information now exists in a way that it cannot be controlled. And I think this is the new variable that hasn't existed in the previous decades, as this topic became, as the secrecy of the topic became more and more like affirmed. So I think now you can't stop a United pilot from posting a TikTok saying that he just saw something crazy.
That's right.
And I think what was it last week? 2 pilots in Saudi Arabia, they were flying and they saw some crazy orb action.
They're like, this is not a plane.
Yeah. And they're like right there. They upload the video as soon as they land.
And
I think those are the things that just the U.S. government or any government that didn't have to deal with 20 years ago.
I will also say too, I think society in some cases, I think, has gotten, I hate to say the word, dumber in some cases, but I will also tell you, I think it's also gotten a hell of a lot smarter. When I was your age, to have a conversation like this, I was too busy chasing girls, working as a bouncer, Here we are, 3 people in our nation's capital, having a conversation, what may be the quintessential topic of humanity. And where we go as society forward is in your hands. And so for things like that, in your audience's hands, when I get to meet and engage with people like you and your audience, it gives me faith. It restores my faith in our species, because you guys and your audience, your generation are, excuse a pun, but light years ahead of where my generation was. And for that, it gives me a lot of hope that maybe we can handle the truth. Maybe, you know what? Maybe we can find a way where the kids in the sandbox can play together, right? If you can't break the toy in 12 pieces, maybe you put it in the middle of the sandbox, and rather than letting every child takes turns playing with it, you make a game where all the kids play with it at once, right? So you don't have to divide the toy. So that's what I was hoping we could get to in this conversation is, you have 12 kids in the sandbox, you've got one toy, how do you share it?
Yeah, it has to be simultaneous.
You don't share it. What you do is you create the game where all of them get to play with it at the same time. And that's how you do it.
Are you exhausted of just talking about this and spending the last few years of your life just being so deep in it that probably the way you, like, I would assume it's almost like connections in your life to other human beings are probably predominantly led by the topic? Like, does it ever get to you on a personal level?
Wow. Yeah, but not in the way that you might think. I'm pretty tired. I'm physically, mentally, emotionally. I don't know how much more I have, because it's been a multi-front battle for me. It's not just an esoteric conversation. It's a conversation that the stakes couldn't be higher. And there are elements there that don't want me to have a conversation at all, and are working very hard to keep me quiet. And there's days I wake up honestly and say, I made a mistake. I never should have did it. I never should have come out and told people. And then there's other times I wake up and get to talk to people like you, and I say, okay, it's worth it. It's worth it. No matter what happens to me, it's worth it. But at the end of the day, dude, I'm just human, you know? And I'm not perfect, and I get tired like everybody else. I get cranky and angry like everybody else. And, you know, I think my biggest concern is a lot of people look at me and they ascribe a trait to me that's, first of all, undeserving, and not earned. You know, they're like, oh, Lou's this guy's got this, you know, super insight and intellect, and I don't. Just as lost and confused as everybody else. I just happen to have access to some information that I think is worth telling, because, you know, I was given a job, and the results of that were very, you know, I think very, very important for us to communicate to our fellow men and women and our fellow citizens. But I don't have all the answers, you know. I'm on the same journey as you, you know. And people look at me as, you know, almost like Moses on the mountain, right? And, you know, oh, let's ask Lou, let's confer with the great oracle. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm down on the mountain, off the mountain with you. We're shoulder to shoulder, man. That's, you know, I'm looking for answers just like you. And, you know, always being true to yourself and being honest, being able to admit that and tell people. A lot of people think, well, you know, oh, you have all the answers. Well, yes, I have all the answers. You know what? I am special, and doggone it, I deserve to be treated special. And that's all horseshit. That's the ego. And you gotta get rid of that shit. You know, this conversation is far more profound, far more important. And it can't be about any single one person. I'm just a messenger, man. And that's it. You know, don't confuse the message with the messenger, because I am far from perfect. I am not. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, a lot of regrets I have. You know, and that's what makes me human. You know, so.